What makes us unique here at Phoenix Rising is that individualized care where the clients are surrounded and supported by our staff all the time. Every single step that they go through or every change that they go through is a big deal. It's an opportunity for them to relapse if they're not supported. So I make sure that we're there for them in every single step of the way. A lot of them have been through multiple programs. Some haven't been to any programs. So we try and meet them exactly where they're at in their experiences, in their life, in their current situation that they're dealing with. Recovery is possible. Whatever they got themselves into, legal problems, family problems, whatever the problems that they got going on in their lives, that they can recover from it and live a totally different life and better life than they could have ever imagined. So after they're done with us, they can continue with us on an individual basis, on an outpatient basis, where they can come and attend a group once a week if they wanted to. They could continue therapy with the therapist that they started with when they first entered treatment, and they can keep that therapist as long as they want to. And that kind of relationship builds long-term success, and we want to make sure that our clients get that. Addiction is such a lonely experience and such a lonely time. You don't have to do that by yourself. We're here to help you walk through every single thing that you got going on. Here at Phoenix Rising, what we want to help you do is rise out of the ashes and your addiction and your disease to a new and brighter future.
My treatment at Phoenix Rising was amazing. Just being vulnerable in these rooms really opened me up. Learning how to be honest for the first time in my life, I was able to gather the tools that I desperately needed to live a life in sobriety.
I had no desire to live prior to coming here. I've found new passions and new hobbies, friends and relationships, everything that makes for a wholesome life here. My life has truly changed for the best since my time here.
Aloha, my name is Ben Kaneaiakala, and welcome to our Facebook live stream. We're going to try and do a Facebook live stream. I've been doing some live streams on YouTube, on our YouTube channel at Phoenix Rising Addiction Center, in regards to talking about the steps and starting to get into how do I apply the steps into, what's going on in my recovery, if I'm clean and sober, or if I've been working on other addictions or other 12-step programs. How do I implement or bring into practice these steps that I'm learning? That's helped me so much in my addiction of alcoholism or drug addiction or sex addiction or gambling addiction or greed or money and whatever the addiction might be, or even some of the, now that those things have gotten somewhat manageable, how do I apply these principles to the self, to me, to some of the internal unmanageabilities that go on with me in my recovery. So yeah, I don't have those real big external consequences of legal problems. Family seems to be, have calmed down a little. There isn't really, you know, big consequences on the outside. But what about the internal consequences that go on within me? Anxiety, stress, worry, fear, depression, those types of other struggles that are more internal, and we're still using things externally to help us with these challenges that go on within us in recovery. So how do I bring these tools? And we've been talking about step one, and we've been talking about how to practice step one, and we had read in step one, we had read that, let me put it up on the screen, that we admitted that we're powerless over our thinking. So what we're doing is we're moving from the initial unmanageability of alcoholism, drug addiction, sex addiction, gambling addiction, and we're moving into a more personal, more focused on me and what goes on between my two ears. So I changed it to thinking. How do I admit or admit that I'm powerless over my thinking and that my behaviors have become unmanageable? Because what can happen is that those internal struggles that we have can then become external, can have external unmanageabilities where it can affect us from, maybe not going to work or not paying the bills or unable to leave the house, or very stressful over the wife, husband, or kids or partner, whoever it might be. Just a lot of different things. And how do I end up bringing that into awareness? Yeah. And so the principle that, so there's another part in the 12 and 12 in step one where it mentions that the principle that we shall find no enduring strength until we first admit complete defeat is the main taproot for us to grow. That this admission or becoming aware of the unmanageability of my thinking and the unmanageabilities of my behavior in recovery, doesn't matter how much time you have in sobriety, we all go through these things, whether you're clean and sober or not. These are some of the struggles that everybody goes through. So in order for us to get to that place of asking for help or even being willing to ask for help, there has to be an admission. There has to be a surrender that has to happen. It's the main taproot from which we can grow and move beyond the unmanageability of my thinking and the behaviors that are tied to that. And so I wanted to re-emphasize the importance of this admission of complete defeat, this surrender, or this pause, to take a pause. Like when you come up to a stop sign, or a sign, you pause so that you can take a look around. You can look left, you can look right, you can look straight, make sure nobody's walking around. Well, that's the same thing that this is asking, is that we take a pause, and we run it by others or the resources that we have in our life. And if you don't have any resources, then just go out and try and find a therapist. Or if you need to find a 12-step program, find a 12-step program. Do whatever it is that you have to do, to find that kind of support that you need, so you can talk to someone, and start taking a look at the things that are creating these internal unmanageabilities within us, within our bodies, within the excessive thinking that we have, and that goes on, um, and the fears, and just all those things. Okay, so it's very important that we get to that place. Now there is another part in the 12 and 12 in step one, where they mention, sometimes we have to raise our bottom. So a lot of the times when we get to this place of admitting complete defeat or surrender, we've hit a bottom. Well, what happens if we think that our bottom isn't a bottom? What happens when we think that, everything's good? You know what I mean? I just got to figure this out. How do we end up raising our bottom? How do I become more aware that there's unmanageability? First of all, I have to change the initial bottom and change it to something that's more current. A lot of the times in a 12-step program, people will constantly compare where they're at in their sobrieties based on where they were at in their active alcoholism and drug addiction. Well, once you clean up that's and get sober, that's not something that you want to continuously use as a comparison of how well you've come, because what happens is that it ends up allowing us to get away, or to do, or continue doing what we've always been doing, clean and sober, and say, I'm doing this and I'm doing that in sobriety, but main thing, I clean and sober. And they've been sober 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years of sobriety, and they're still comparing their progress and the becoming aware of the unmanageabilities that go on, and they're using when they were drinking and using. How's about using something more current? Something, a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 1 year ago. How's about using those things and where I was at? And I'm not talking about external things. The new job, the car, the house, the wife, the husband, the kids. I'm not talking about those external things. I'm talking about the internal things that go on. And using that as the measuring stick for where I'm at, so that I can there's this talk of emotional sobriety, and having emotional sobriety, or building emotional sobriety. And how am I going to build emotional sobriety where when my comparison, or what I'm using in regards to me growing up or becoming responsible, is something that I did 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago in my active alcoholism and drug addiction? I should be using something more current to help me if I wanted to compare progress or to look at unmanageabilities, look at something more current. And when I'm able to use something more current, I'm able to I'm able to get to the place of surrender. I'm able to get to the place of acknowledging and becoming aware of some of the struggles that I am having within my thinking. You know, that those excessive thoughts of just keeps running through my mind and running through my mind and running through my mind, and it just doesn't stop and doesn't stop. And I'm in fear and I'm in worry and I'm just so caught up in so much things, and I gotta do better. I gotta make more money. I gotta do this for the husband, the partner. I gotta do this for the kids. I gotta, like, get so caught up in life that there is no way that I can become present. That I can become present in the moment. That I can get to the place of surrender and just acknowledging and becoming aware of what's going on and just surrender. And surrender to the moment. And surrender to the unmanageability of my thinking. And get into no thinking. Yeah. So the raising of the bottom in sobriety. Yeah. Raise the bottom. Ask yourself, what can I do to raise my bottom? And then when I get to that place of acknowledging or becoming aware of it, I can then do something about it, right? Because I'm aware. And I've talked to some people, and yeah, I really want to make improvements in this area. I really want to change the way that I'm responding or reacting to situations. Like those types of struggles. There's a little sentence in the 10th step where it talks about anytime I am disturbed, no matter what the cause, I am in the wrong. Also, it's a spiritual axiom. So when we have disturbances, to recognize them, not to beat ourselves up, not to get into more labeling, more judging, more identities, more roles, like not to get into all of that, but just becoming aware of where my thinking is going. Yeah. So this is definitely can be a challenge. But if you're in sobriety, and in recovery and very interested in working on self, this is something that should intrigue you. It should excite you into taking a look at some of these internal things that are going on in my thinking, in my body, how my body is reacting to my thinking, and my feelings, my emotions, and just becoming more aware of those three aspects: my thinking, my body, and my emotions. And they're all connected, you know. And so when we can become aware and not get into rejudging, relabeling, re-identifying, when we can just detach, disidentify from these things, there's a sense of freedom that comes from that. That's where, to me, in my sobriety, that's where true peace, love, and joy lives. Peace, love, and joy doesn't live in the world. It doesn't live in people, places, and things. I can't find the solution of what's going on with people, places, and things. I can't use people, places, and things to help me feel better about myself. They're temporary. So I have to get connected with a power greater than myself, a higher power. And for a lot of people, and I'm moving into step 2, but a lot of people use the 12-step program as a higher power, as a support system. And it's a great support system. There's so much available there. But if we're not in this place of surrender, this place of willingness, uh, there's no way we're going to take advantage of that support system. This is the way that we've been conditioned. I've been conditioned to think and feel this way, and to not uh, ask for help, or to not um, go to therapy, or to not admit that I'm weak, you know? And but that's the very thing that we need to do if we truly want freedom from the pain and suffering that we're experiencing, no matter what it is, whether it's external pain and suffering or whether it's internal pain and suffering. These are things that that are creating pain and suffering, and that's consequences, and that's unmanageability. And the more that we can become aware of these unmanageabilities, uh, we have a better opportunity um, to not stay stuck in it. you know so if we were to move into step two, because of all the pain and suffering that I'm going through, we come to this point of, we came to believe, I'm going to pull this up. So step two is, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Now, a lot of the times, once we get to that place of admitting complete defeat and becoming, admitting powerlessness and unmanageability, we're like, okay, so what do we do with that? What do we do with that surrender? We come to believe that a power greater can restore me to sanity, and it's not a restoration of, oh my God, my whole this higher power. I really need to believe in this higher power. It's going to relieve me of the challenges and the struggles that I have in my life and all that kind of stuff. It's the restoring to sanity, and believing in this power greater than myself happens right now. It happens in the now. That the moment that I can get into surrender, and the moment that I can start using the support system that's already built into the 12-step program, or other types of resources that can help us, uh, those are powers greater than us. And when I take advantage of those resources, and I use them, or I practice them, or I meet with them, or I do whatever it is, that the fact that I'm actually getting out of myself and actually reaching out to someone else for help is huge. And that's what we have to try and do moving into step two, is believe that a power greater than I can restore me to a place of sanity rather than insanity. you know and that insanity doesn't have to be external unmanageabilities or insanity. It can be just the insanity that I'm feeling within me, that I had mentioned earlier. And if we can start becoming aware of that, and coming aware in using and implementing and practicing the resources and the tools that the program has given me, I'm able to find a place of sanity. And those things can happen at every moment. The moment I can surrender, and I can get into this place of being, and I can get into this place of presence, and I can get into this place of being in the moment, um, there's a essence of sanity. Yeah. A lot of the times, I know when I first got sober, I was looking for the white light. I was looking for my God to come down and relieve me of all this insanity that I was living in and thinking about all the time. You know, and it's just crazy. So this is more of what I wanted to discuss, and we're definitely moving into step two. Um, and I just wanted to start the conversation more again about becoming more aware. Becoming more aware of ourselves and the way that we think, and to understand that the black hole, or the hole in the donut, or that thing that's missing inside of us, isn't going to be found in people, places, and things. And a lot of the times, I know I put so much emphasis on people, places, and things making me feel better. And what I've come to find out is that it's temporary. And there is something that's more permanent, and it lasts longer, and that's connecting to a power greater than myself. And if you're struggling with this power greater than yourself, um, just be open minded. Be open minded therapy, finding a therapist, finding a counselor, somebody that you can start having conversations with, and start trying to learn, rather than having to always have the answers or the right answer for everything. Not necessary. Um, there's a there's a lot of people that I work with, and that are struggling with just staying clean and sober, that are struggling with anxiety and stress and worry and fear, and find it very challenging um, to stop the excessive, compulsive thinking that goes on every day, all day. And if you're one of those people that are sick and tired of being sick and tired of that and what's going on within you, um, reach out. Reach out for help. There's all kinds of help. And be open to the suggestions, the feedback that's given. A lot of the times when we seek help, we're not going to want to hear everything that the help is telling us. Admitting or being humble isn't an easy thing for us. But if you're listening to this live stream, or you've been listening to other videos or podcasts, and you can relate, and all that, just understand that you're definitely not alone. Although it might feel that way, you're not. And to get into the middle of the pack, get in the middle of the herd so that you're not picked off. And I hope that you find these words, um, my experience, strength and hope here, helpful for you, or for a loved one. And I'm just truly grateful that I have the opportunity to be able to share my experience, strength, and hope with the people that I help at Phoenix Rising Addiction Center, um, in AA, in other 12-step programs, and just continue to try and do the best I can at being an example of what recovery, or what being looks like, as an example. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for your support. Um, and I wish you guys a great Saturday. And I hope that you continue to follow us on all of our social media platforms, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on our website at Phoenix Rising Addiction, PhoenixRisingBehavioral.com, and our YouTube channel at Phoenix Rising Addiction Center. So much resources and so much support, and I hope that that's where you're at, and I hope you find this useful, and I will see you guys next week. Mahalo.